evening and welcome. You're watching Primetime News on TV1, bringing you the news. I'm Tharushi Kumar Singha. Up first, in your headlines.
Asala full moon Poya Day marked today. Devotees visit temples under relaxed restrictions. Delta COVID-19 cases rise to 61. Health authorities warn of spike in cases and deaths. Police launch operation to crack down on those who break interprovincial travel restrictions. India's Eastern Naval Command-in-Chief on aerial observation tour of Manna waters. Tokyo 2020 Olympics opens today.
Thousands of Buddhists celebrated the Asala full moon Poya Day today. That marks many significant events in the Buddhist calendar.
The conception of Prince Siddhartha in Queen Mahamaya's womb is a significant incident that had taken place on the Asala full moon Poya Day. It was on a full moon Poya Day like today that Prince Siddhartha left aside all comforts to find the way out of suffering. Lord Buddha's first sermon, known as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra or the Wheel of Truth, is a significant incident that had also taken place on a day like this. The birth of Prince Rahula, the only child of Prince Siddhartha and Princess Yasodhara, took place on a day like today. It was on a Asala full moon Poya Day the Buddha performed the Yama Mahapelahara, the twin miracle, to the Sakyans. Many other important events were held on the Asala full moon Poya Day. The convocation of the Buddhist Council 3 months after Lord Buddha's demise and the Sri Lankan ordination of 56 Sinhalese princes, including Prince Aritha, took place on a day like today. The foundation-laying ceremony of the iconic Ruvanvelli Saya, also the enshrinement of its relics by King Dutugamanu, took place on a day like this. Religious ceremonies were held at temples in line with the Asala full moon Poya Day today. This was done in line with health guidelines. The 212th segment of Amadam Sisila Daham sermon was held at the Prime Minister's Lodge in Nuwara. Venerable Nugathanne Panyananda Thera had delivered the sermon. Meanwhile, the Sri Sadham Seta Dharma sermon was held at the opposition leader Sajid Premadasa's office. The chief prelate of the Chandana Viharaya, Gotatua, Venerable Hingure Panyasekara Thera, had delivered the sermon. The Sambuddha Puja, organized by the Capital Maharaja Group at the Shakya Malaka opposite the MTV MBC head office, was held today. The event was sponsored by Sirasa FM.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato.
The Sirasa Poya Day special broadcast was aired from Kirivehera today. The special broadcast consisted of several religious programs. Meanwhile, a Bodhi Puja was held at the Kalutara Bodhiya yesterday to invoke blessings on Most Venerable Dodampahala Chandra Sirithera, who was appointed as the chief prelate of the Sri Lanka Amarapura sect. The Mahanayaka Thero of the Amarapura sect was also present at the event that was organized by the Board of Trustees of the Kalutara Bodhiya. The chairman of the Sri Lanka Amarapura Nikaya Council and the Board of Trustees of the Kalutara Bodhiya were present during the occasion.
As it was mentioned in your headlines this evening, the number of people infected with the Delta COVID-19 variant in Sri Lanka has risen to 61. The tally has been determined based on the tests conducted so far. Meanwhile, a media briefing on COVID-19 prevention was held at the Health Promotion Bureau today.
It may be possible. We know that the Delta variant spreads rapidly compared to other variants. Its infection rate is high. Tests conducted overseas have shown that the infectivity of this variant is between 60 and 70% higher than the Alpha variant.
ඉන්ෆෙක්ටිවිටි එක වැඩි කියලා ඇල්ෆා ප්‍රභේදයට වැඩිය.
ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානයක් තියෙනවා දැන් බොහෝ රටවල් වල ඒ ඩෙල්ටා ප්‍රභේදය පැත්තට යනවා. ලංකාවේ කොහොමද මොන වගේ පරීක්ෂණ දෙකක් සිදු වෙන්නේ?
ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය කිව්වා මේ
The World Health Organization has said that the Delta variant is spreading the most across the world. This may be the case in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is looking into its spread at present. The necessary steps were taken since the detection of the Delta variant. We had taken preventive measures. The extent of the spread of the virus and the extent up to which the spread can be controlled depends on the conduct of the people.
අපිට කොයිතරම් දුරට පාලනය කරගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක වැදගත් රඳාව පවතින්නේ.
The Health Ministry says that 568 COVID-19 deaths had been recorded during the last 2 weeks. This includes 5 people below the age of 30 and 139 people between the ages of 30 and 59. According to the Health Ministry, the deaths also include 424 people above the age of 60. Sri Lanka has so far recorded 3,959 COVID-19 deaths. 13 deaths had occurred during the first wave, 596 during the second wave, and 3,350 during the third wave. Meanwhile, the State Minister for COVID-19 Disease Control has highlighted the need to get vaccinated.
We wish to inform the people that the risk hasn't reduced yet. There is a small spike in COVID-19 cases and deaths, but the vaccination program has been taking place successfully in all districts. People above the age of 60 are receiving vaccines. Therefore, we wish to inform the public that they can obtain vaccines by coordinating with the medical officer of health in their areas. Deaths can be prevented if a person receives both doses of the vaccine. Most of the deaths that are being reported are of the people who have not been vaccinated and those with health complications.
The police has said that special operations will be launched to identify people who flout laws by travelling between provinces during the weekend. The upcoming weekend is quite decisive. Before the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, we informed the people to abide by the quarantine regulations. Island-wide restrictions were imposed for about 5 weeks as the people didn't do that. It is everyone's responsibility to prevent such incidents from occurring in the future. Wear face masks always and abide by the quarantine laws. 30 special teams would be deployed in the Western Province to arrest people who don't wear face masks and to enforce the quarantine laws. We request everyone to abide by the quarantine regulations at all times.
The 2020 Olympic Games got underway in Tokyo today. Taking a look at one more of your headline making news this evening. Vice Admiral A.B. Singh, the current flag officer commanding-in-chief of the Eastern Naval Command of the Indian Navy, took an observation tour of the Bay of Mannar and the islands in the vicinity. The observation tour comes against a backdrop where India and Britain are conducting a joint naval exercise in the Bay of Bengal, adjacent to the Sea of Sri Lanka.
Vice Admiral A.B. Singh had arrived in Rameshwaram in Tamil Nadu and inspected 2 state-of-the-art naval patrol vessels docked at the Kandukal fisheries port. Indian media reported that the patrol vessels will be deployed to curb illegal activities in the vicinity of the Mannar Basin, including the transport of narcotics, sea cucumber, seahorses and illegal immigration. Vice Admiral A.B. Singh then boarded a helicopter and engaged in an inspection tour of the Mannar Basin and islands in the area. Sri Lanka's strategic positioning in the world has made both Sri Lanka and the Sea of Sri Lanka the subject of the prying eyes of various powerful states in the world. While countries like China have had a strong presence in the region, in the recent past, the presence of India, the United States and other Western nations in the region too had increased. The most recent development in this region is the 3-day joint maritime exercise involving the UK and India. The exercise is taking place in the Bay of Bengal. 12 ships, 2 submarines, over 30 aircraft and almost 4,500 naval personnel took part in the 3-day maritime exercise in the Bay of Bengal. The Indian Navy and the UK's HMS Queen Elizabeth Carrier Strike Group participated in the exercise, which began on the 21st of July. The UK High Commission in India has said that this marks a change in UK's engagement in the region. This includes tackling shared threats and seizing new trade opportunities with Singapore, Korea, Japan and India. The UK Carrier Strike Group is currently on a 7-month deployment and is expected to work with more than 40 countries during this period. The maiden exercise between the Indian Navy and the Royal Navy's latest aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth included CSG-21, which included Type 23 frigates and an Astute-class submarine, in addition to other surface combatants. The Indian Navy was represented by INS Satputra, Ranveer, Jyoti, Kavarati, Kulish and a submarine. The exercise also included the P-81, a long-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft capable of anti-submarine warfare. The media spokesperson of the Indian Navy, Commander Vivek Madhwal, said that the ongoing exercise has provided an excellent opportunity to engage in a wide range of maritime operations, including ASW, anti-air and anti-surface warfare, due to the presence of the CSG-21 in the Indian Ocean. Foreign media reported that the exercise also witnessed the maiden participation of the F-35B Lightning, which operates from the deck of the HMS Queen Elizabeth.
Meanwhile, former Minister Rishad Badiuddin's brother-in-law has been arrested over the sexual abuse of a 22-year-old domestic helper between the years of 2015 and 2019.
Police spokesperson Senior DIG Ajit Rohana said the 22-year-old had been employed as a domestic helper at the former minister's residence. In a separate incident, 3 people, including the former minister's wife, had been arrested over the recent death of a 16-year-old girl who was employed as a domestic helper at his residence.
Recorded 20 statements in respect of the witnesses. Among them, 2 women have given a statement. They have served as domestic servants at the official residence of the ex-minister whilst he was functioning as a minister since 2015 to 2019. A 22-year-old woman of Diagam area has made a statement to the police that while she was serving as a domestic servant at the official residence of the minister, Mackenzie Road, Colombo, she was raped by a person. The person has been identified as the brother-in-law of the ex-minister, a permanent resident of Madavachi area. Accordingly, investigation team has arrested the suspect.
The recent death of a 16-year-old girl while working as a domestic helper at former Minister Rishad Badiuddin's residence came under heavy criticism today. Convening a media briefing in Hatton, the Heroes Association said that the wrongdoers must be punished over this incident. Our association opposes the recruitment of underage domestic helpers. We are calling on the government to punish all those responsible for the child's death. The United Workers Community Union convened a media briefing in Kahawatha today. We condemn this incident heavily. We must first consider the court order that would be issued on the child's death. We will take steps against such crimes that affect any child. A protest was held in Kandy demanding a fair investigation into the death of the 16-year-old. The protest was organized by the Domestic Workers Union. Signatures were collected for a petition in the Vaunia town against the death of the 16-year-old girl. A protest was also staged near the Mana District Secretary's office. The demonstration was organized by civic groups. Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has reiterated that the rights of children and women must be protected. We are bound to protect the rights of women and children. We strictly oppose violence against women and we will take strict measures to prevent violence against them. We will step up when children's rights are violated. We will not consider one's race or religion when doing this.
Actress Anusha Damayanti filed a complaint with the Criminal Investigations Department today.
The complaint has been filed regarding posts spreading on social media concerning a politician as well.
මට දැඩි ලෙස Facebook එකේ දැඩි මඩ ප්‍රහාරයක් යනවා. මං හිතන්නේ
People have been slinging mud at me on social media. This could be because I supported the Rajapaksa faction heavily. Therefore, they have been slinging mud at me and Minister Sarath Weerasekara. This is a crime that is similar to sexual abuse faced by women. I visited the CID today since I believe that those involved in such despicable acts must be punished. As an actress, I never thought that they would start slinging mud at me to this extent. These posts claim that I contacted Sarath Weerasekara when my house in Valana was raided and that I had done something that is unacceptable in the society. It is not apt for me to receive such comments as a woman. Every cent I have earned is through my hard work and effort in the film industry. Therefore, this can hamper the society's impression on me. Some people might believe that this is true, since the president has the responsibility to protect females who make up more than 50% of the population. I request him to protect the future of women by imposing severe punishments on these activities.
මෙවැනි ක්‍රියාවන් වලට දැඩි දඬුවම් පමුණුවමින් කාන්තාව සුරකින්න කියලා.
Farmers of Badulla today staged a protest demanding solutions to the fertilizer crisis in the country.
The protest was staged at Kalugalpitiya.
It has been more than 2 months. The crops have turned yellow. We haven't received organic fertilizer or urea. People won't have sufficient rice during the next harvesting season. We won't be able to prevent our paddy fields from going barren. I don't believe that anyone wants to engage in farming anymore.
While farmers in many areas staged protests over the lack of fertilizer in the country, the farming community of Galloya convened a media briefing and spoke about the paddy purchases taking place in the country.
This is rice mafia. Instead of controlling the price of rice, they are planning on controlling the price of paddy. Farmers are always left helpless. Large-scale mill owners are protected. These people don't have the money when it comes to paying the farmers in Sri Lanka in rupees to purchase paddy, but they have dollars to spend to import paddy from overseas.
Farmers' paddy are purchased for an extremely cheap price. What is this procedure they are creating? What are they doing? They are allowing large-scale paddy owners to purchase paddy at a low price and then sell at a high price. Both the farmers and the consumers are affected by this. Have we been treated fairly for our efforts? We have not been treated fairly. This is how we are treated by the people who depend on us.
This is how farmers have been treated. The way I see it, these doctors and ministers don't know the meaning of a control price. The 5 largest mill owners in Sri Lanka wanted to purchase the paddy at a cheap price. I would like to ask the minister as to how much commission he is getting per kilo from these 5 rice mill owners. They are selling the paddy of our farmers for a cheap price and importing rice from overseas. When they import rice, these people get commissions deposited into their bank accounts. Are you allowing these businessmen to purchase paddy from us at such a cheap price because you want to get commission from them? Remember, you are doing this to the people who feed this country. The farmers are always attacked like this by these ministers. Farmers will not continue to suffer like this.
The Diga Madulla United Farmers Organisation and the All Ceylon Farmers Federation also spoke about the prices of paddy at a media briefing today.
The day before yesterday, Minister of Agriculture Mahindananda Lutgamage and an influential minister Bandula Gunawardena and the large-scale rice mill owners told the people and the country that they will purchase paddy only at 50 rupees. They said that selling paddy for a price higher than 50 rupees is illegal and said that if it is done, you will be fined. With who has Minister Mahindananda Lutgamage bandwidth? They are working with the large-scale rice mill owners who refused to reduce the prices of rice when the government published 5 gazette notifications mandating rice to be sold at a lower price at a time when all 22 million people of this country were suffering. They said that strict action will be taken against them if they do not adhere to these regulations, but today they are shamelessly working with these large-scale mill owners and have decided to reduce the prices of paddy. What is the reason for this government to reduce the price of paddy? That was at around 75, 65, 60 and 55 rupees to a mere 50 rupees. They want to protect these large-scale mill owners and maximize their profits. We don't understand what kind of a government this is. They take unsound decisions, they take a decision in the morning and then go against it in the evening. Then they proceed to change the decision taken in the evening on the very next day.
උදේ ගන්න තීන්දුව හවසට කඩ කරනවා හවස ගන්න තීන්දුව උදේට ආපෞසරයක් වෙනස් කරනවා පහුගිය දවස්වල
During the past few days, small-scale rice mill owners purchased paddy from farmers at a price between 55 and 62 rupees. But after Minister Mahindananda and Minister Bandula Gunawardena held this media briefing and announced their stance that paddy must be purchased from farmers at 50 rupees, all of these mill owners reduced the price they purchased paddy from the farmers to 50 rupees. This is a disaster.
ස්ථාවරයේ රුපියල් 50 දක්වා අඩු කරා. මේක මහා දැවැන්ත ඛේදවාචකයක්.
As News First, the voice of the people, continue to highlight the plight of the people in the country, it has been 11 days since teachers and principals have withdrawn from online teaching as part of a trade union action. A protest was held in Vaunia today demanding authorities to resolve the salary anomalies of teachers and principals.
The protesters marched from the clock tower in the Vaunia town to the zonal education office in the area. They later staged a demonstration near the Vaunia bus halt. Our correspondent reported that the protest had caused traffic congestion along the Anuradhapura Vaunia main road.
All teachers have withdrawn from conducting practical tests. They won't apply to conduct practical tests for advanced level students. They will refrain from exam supervision duties as well. This is how we will continue our struggle.
Meanwhile, the Teachers Principal Collective convened a media briefing today.
The Minister of Education and the Presidential Secretariat have begun discussions now. On the one hand, that can be deemed as a victory we have achieved. Although they are holding discussions, we will not stop our trade union action. As a result of our actions, the authorities in the government have no option but to pay attention to this problem. We have taken an ironclad decision to continue this struggle until we meet our demands.
අපේ මේ සටනේ අවසන් ප්‍රතිඵලයක් ලැබෙන තුරු ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්න තීරණය කරලා තිබෙනවා.
ගාමිණී ලොක්ගේ ඇමතිවරයා සඳහන් කරනවා මේ අපි කිසිම දවසක ඉස්කෝලේ
Minister Gamni Lokuge says that we have not attended school and that we take money from NGOs. These are ridiculous statements. Parents and students know whether we went to school and whether we have taught in schools. Now what has to be done is to seek solutions for this issue. Otherwise we will have to take various actions like we halted aesthetic activities and practical tests.
අපිට වෙනවා විවිධ ක්‍රියාමාර්ගවලට ඉදිරියට යන්න.
Minister of Environment Mahinda Amaraveera reacted to the suspected oil leak from the Express Pearl vessel which was reported yesterday. We have received information regarding an oil leak, but the Sri Lankan government cannot take action regarding this as the vessel still falls under the purview of the relevant company. We cannot interfere into this without their permission. As a government, we have informed them about this. If we interfere into this, they might abandon the vessel by shifting the responsibility onto our hands. It is their responsibility to rectify this mistake. A team has been assigned to monitor and assess this situation. As the government, we will be monitoring the situation with the relevant factions.
But these were the views shared by maritime law specialist Professor Dan Malika Gunasekara during a media briefing today.
In the present circumstance, where the wreck of Express Pearl is blocking an important navigational route to Port of Colombo, and also due to the threat of any oil pollution that may occur, with the news that we are hearing that there is some kind of oil pollution that may be taking place from the vessel, we have ample legal provisions in our Merchant Shipping Act, Part 9 from Section 224 of the said Act, for either for Sri Lanka to appoint through the Director General of Merchant Shipping a receiver to receive the wreck and thereafter to remove the wreck, and whatever the costs that are incurred by the receiver in doing so is obtainable from the owner or from its P&I insurance, because generally the P&I insurance provide what we call an insurance policy for the removal of the wreck. So if the owner is not going to act upon to remove the wreck, obviously the Sri Lankan authority, as I mentioned, the Director General of Merchant Shipping, through a receiver so appointed for that purpose, can remove this wreck. It's very important to remove this wreck because it is blocking a very important navigational route to and from Colombo Port.
Lanka, chasing a target of 226 runs for the win, are currently at 91 for the loss of 1 wicket in the 15th over. Sri Lanka requires another 129 runs in 31 overs. The online discussion organised by Gamadha V-Force and Damsavia on Poya Days, revolving around several matters including leadership qualities, took place on Zoom today. We leave you tonight with the remarks expressed by Dr. Galkande Dhammananda Thero, who serves as the head of the Kalani University's Department of History. I am Tharusha Kumar Singha, along with our sign language interpreter for today, Tharaka Gabriel. Good night.
The epilogue.
DSN කුමාරයෙක් වගේ කෙනෙක් නායකයෙක් ඇවිල්ලා අපිව බේර ගන්නවා කියන අදහසක් මේ දහම්වල එන්නේ නැහැ.
Religion doesn't teach us that a leader like Prince Diyasin will come forward to protect the country. It is by changing ourselves collectively that we can choose a leader who can bring about the ultimate change that we expect. It is vital that the leader whom we accept must be transformed into a changed leader.
ඉතාම අත්‍යවශ්‍යයි අපි ඔය නායකයයි කියලා හිතන කෙනා වෙනස් වූ නායකයෙකු බවට පත් කරගන්න.
The epilogue.